Whenever you were ready.
Giving birth. I feel like society can make it seem, and even the media can make it seem like such a scary thing sometimes. You know, we've all seen the movies. The woman is freaking out when her water breaks. She's being rolled down the hospital aisles in a wheelchair by her husband, and he's having this like nervous breakdown. She's hyperventilating. She's screaming, and you guys know what I'm talking about, right? We've all seen it. But does giving birth have to be seen like such a scary and even hospital-oriented situation? Believe it or not, many women today are choosing to have midwives and give birth naturally in the comfort of their own home. This, of course, applies to women who have had previous pregnancies that have been done safely and they've had little to no complications. So I want to outline the benefits claimed by these women who choose to have natural births at home. And I'll explain the benefits on the baby's health, the procedures that take place in these home births, the popularity of it in many other highly developed countries, and how it can be one of the most empowering experiences that women can go through. So the thing that pops into my mind is the pain that a woman goes through labor, and of course this is why there's pain-relieving drugs in hospital births, but women who choose to have natural home births know the dangers that these drugs can have on a baby's health. And there are main drugs that are used, for example, Pitocin, which induces labor, and it causes the contractions to be worse, and so they're given the epidural, which numbs the pain, but then since they feel no pain, their body doesn't know that they need to start pushing more in order to get into labor, so then they're given more Pitocin, so it's just a huge drug intervention. And I have a video here that elaborates this more, a little more clearly.
In the hospital, you're not allowed to have very long labors. So if you're not dilating rapidly, which you're likely not to do if you get an epidural early in labor, you will be given Pitocin. They'll put the Pitocin in the IV, it will flow into your veins. Pitocin makes contractions longer and stronger and closer together. So then the pain of labor is much worse. So you go with that for a while because you have the epidural, but eventually the pain of the contractions is overwhelming the epidural. You need to up the epidural, and then labor slows down more because of that, so then you need more Pitocin. Now you're not feeling the pain of the extra Pitocin because you've got the epidural, but your baby is getting compressed blood and oxygen supply because Pitocin contractions last so long and are so strong, the blood and oxygen flow to the baby is compromised. So then the baby's likely to go into distress, and then you're set off for an emergency cesarean from a baby in distress from contractions induced by the Pitocin, which was necessitated by the epidural.
Step by step, one intervention leads to a series of interventions. And the net result is the mother finally ends up with cesarean, and everybody says, thank God we were able to do all those interventions to save your baby. The fact of the matter is, if they didn't start the cascade of interventions, none of them would have been necessary.
So, yeah. So you may be wondering, how do these women who choose to have their babies naturally with no drugs deal with the pain? And there's actually different procedures, like there's different positions that they could be in during labor. For example, there's swaying, and standing and walking gain labor momentum, and it's kind of like slow dancing. You know, they sway back and forth, and it's good for back rub. There's squatting, which opens up the pelvis, which actually helps a lot during the actual delivery of the baby. And there's semi-sitting, which also opens up the pelvis, and it relieves back pain. There's lying on your side, which creates a better blood flow, and it even helps the baby rotate to the right position that it needs to be in. There's rocking back and forth, once again easing back pain because that's where a lot of the pain is found. Lunging, once again, opens up the pelvis and it rotates the baby to the right position that it needs to be in order to be delivered. Kneeling down is also opening up the pelvis. It eases back pain, and it can be relaxing for the woman too. And leaning forward also is another way to relieve back pain, and It opens up the pelvis. It creates better like muscle relaxation. Another way that women have their babies at home are water births. And these births are chosen because they're actually less stressful for the woman. They are soothing. The water is both mentally and physically relaxing because it's mentally relaxing because it's just soothing being in the water, and it's physically relaxing because it relaxes the muscles and it creates a better blood flow, which could facilitate the earlier stage of labor and which reduces the need for anesthesia. Even though these methods may seem a little strange, they're actually the norm in other highly developed countries. And the US has one of the worst infant mortality rates, and only 1% of our births are done at home, while all the other countries is up to like 70% of their births that are done at home with midwives. So that's a pretty convincing correlation. So a lot of women say that having a natural birth is one of the most empowering things that a woman can go through. It makes them feel as if, if they can get through this, they can get through anything. Ricky Lake, the producer of the documentary The Business of Being Born, says that birth isn't an illness I needed to numb. It's something that needed to be experienced. And modern women today have this mentality. It all kind of started with the feminist movement. No, I don't need to suffer. I don't need to feel pain. But if they knew how empowering a natural birth could be, maybe they'd change their mind about that. So overall, a natural home birth could be very a safe and beneficial alternative to a traditional hospital birth for women who have had previous pregnancies that have gone well with little to no complications. And women say that it gives life a whole new meaning, in which she didn't need to be rescued, but she can lay claim to her victory.
So Daniel, what did you think?
Well, that makes me want to have home birth for my future wife. It's cruel how he makes, I thought it was awesome speech, but I guess I had to criticize or give opinions on it. But I thought it was clear, on the topic, and you wanted to outline the benefits of home birth instead of having the procedure and everything. I thought it was very interesting because I have so much respect for you guys, all the women out there. Yeah, but I honestly liked it. But then if I have to point, I guess I understand that you went to drug intervention and explaining all that. I thought if there was video, then I thought you didn't have to just explain the whole thing, because I just watched it in a video and you explained everything. So I thought you could just kind of shorten it and then maybe show us video. That way it's I thought it was just too much information. Oh my gosh, that's my resume. And then I understand that there was a benefits, but I feel like you focused on drug interventions. I kind of lost all the benefits that you also talked about. You talked about drug interventions, and then you went into benefits of giving home birth with the drug intervention, what it's better than things like that. So I thought I kind of missed the whole other benefits as you were explaining all that. So maybe you could have been emphasizing other benefits too, as long as you were doing the speech. And other than that, I thought it was really good. Visual aids were there. Introduction, conclusion. It was very good opening speech, ending speech. I liked it.
All right. Well, let me start off with a couple of things that I think are pretty positives. I like the introduction that you've got. You've got kind of a dramatic statement and a hypothetical visualization that you use to get us going. You identify the topic effectively. I think there's a very clear statement of what your goal is. You know, I also heard a preview of what the supporting structure was going to be, so everything is set up for it to be pretty well organized. Now, let me point out a little bit of an issue. I didn't think that the organization was as clear in the body of the speech as it was in the preview. I did hear you hit at least one of those points that you talked about, and I know that most of the issues that you talked about fit into those points, but once the information started coming, it just felt like the information was randomly being dropped in instead of it being collected and grouped into particular categories. And I only heard one signpost internally, and that was something that was accompanied by a visual as well. So, I mean, that helps a little bit, but it doesn't kind of connect to those earlier points that you set up, and I think you wanted to do that a little bit more. There's good material in the speech, but I'm not hearing the source citations that go along with that. For example, you have that statistic at one point that you show, and I know it comes from someplace. I couldn't see exactly on the slide where it came from, and that should be something that you should be sharing. You got the description of all of the alternatives that are going on, and I know that they came from someplace, and you should be talking about how they figured out or who it is that came up with these ideas, so that we know that this is not just, you know, some guy took pictures of his wife as she was trying to get through this, and it worked for her. You know, I suspect that there is information there. I have no doubt that you did the research, but you're not getting the citation into the speech, and you want to do that a little bit more consistently. I'm going to agree with Daniel. The video, I think, is a little long. I like the cartoon thing. I think it illustrates the point. You've got this whole circular thing that's going on, and I can tell that you obviously chopped it down a little bit. You know, you're right there on Tube Chop to make it a little bit smaller. I didn't keep the exact time on it, but I know it ran, you know, definitely close to 2 minutes. And that just feels like a long time in your speech that you're not talking. You're letting the video do the talking. And a lot of the things that are illustrated in there probably you could have gotten away with your own explanation, and it would feel a little bit more organic. On the other hand, I thought the visuals were very nicely integrated into the speech. You put them in the right spots. You showed them at appropriate times. You left them up for long enough. They were large enough for us to see. That helped. Like I said, I think maybe some source citations would have helped along the way. I thought your delivery was excellent. You look at the audience for the most part. You're not really dependent on the script. You increase your voice appropriately so that we can hear you. And so there are a lot of good things in the speech. Just a few technical things to fix. Okay? All right. Thank you.